Hello everybody, I hope you're doing good. Today we're going to take a look at the one who is behind all the evil that's in the world. So let's go directly to Isaiah 14 and verse 12. And it says, "How have you fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn? You have been cut down to the earth, you who have weakened the nations." So first thing we see here, that he has fallen from heaven. As here supposedly he's talking to the king of Babylon, but we see that he's talking to the spirit that's behind the king. How you have fallen from heaven. First, he was in heaven. O star of the morning, and that's his name. That's how the Bible describes him. He was the star of the morning, which they translated as Lucifer. Son of the dawn. You have been cut down to the earth. So first he was in heaven, and then he was cast down to the earth. We will see now why was he cut down to the earth. Verse 13, "But you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High." The prominent thing we see, first thing is I will. I will, I will, I will. So that's one. I will what? I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne. See, going up. I will sit on the mount of the assembly. 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. So in one word, pride. He had pride. He was cast out of heaven because he had pride. Where? In the heart. You said in your heart. See, he didn't even speak. In his heart, he said, I will raise, I will ascend, I will sit. Now, if this was only a temptation and he did not agree with it, he wouldn't have fallen. We wouldn't call it sin. But because he agreed, he wanted this, then it became sin. Now one could be tempted in doing something, but he refuses, then he did not sin. But if he agrees with the temptation, he wants what the temptation suggested, then he falls into sin. And that's what happened here. Man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart, and God knows what's in the heart. Even though man doesn't need to speak, he didn't need to say anything, God knew. We go to Ezekiel 28, the second part, because he talks about him in Isaiah 14 and in Ezekiel 28. Ezekiel 28 is the king of Tyre, the same way. Verse 13. Ezekiel 28 verse 13, what he tells. He says, you were in Eden. See again, the king of Tyre was never in Eden. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. So he was in Eden, the garden of God, and every precious stone was his covering. See how beautiful he was. And then he counts the stones. We jump to 14. You were the anointed cherub. You will see that he was, a cherub is a kind of angel, is the highest rank of angels, but he was the anointed one. He was the head of the cherubim. I placed you there. God placed him there. You see, he wasn't made, he wasn't created, rather, evil. He was created as God is describing him. Beautiful, good, and every precious stone was his covering. So he was not evil. Evil came up from inside. You were on the mountain, you were on the holy mountain of God. You walked in the midst of the stones of fire. You were blameless, imagine. The devil, Satan, Lucifer, was blameless in your ways. He was blameless in his ways. From the day you were created. So he was blameless. From the day you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. That is the problem. Until unrighteousness was found in you. By the abundance of your trade, you were internally filled with violence. And you sinned. He agreed with I want, okay, yes, and once he agreed, he fell into sin. Therefore I cast you as profane, defiled, from the mountain of God, out. And I have destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up, verse 17. Your heart was lifted up. See the contrast with Jesus? He went down, humility. This guy, pride. You have to be very careful. Pride it's not a word. You see what happened to him? He was the anointed cherub. Pride came into him. He agreed, yes, I do. Out. It's very, very dangerous. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom by reason of your splendor. But he was beautiful, he was, and we saw what he was. He became proud. I cast you to the ground, from the highest place to the lowest place. That's how God deals with sin. So we should be very careful, not because Jesus paid the price for the sin that we could just live however we want. If we really appreciate the work Jesus did, we would hate sin. Because God hates sin. And we see here the result of it. So we thank Jesus every moment for forgiving us and making the way for us to go back to the Father. So he was cast down to the ground. That's before creating Adam and Eve. Genesis 1, we see, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. It says, The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. But does God create anything formless and void? Impossible. God cannot create it this way. And we said in Isaiah 45, verse 18, "For thus says the Lord who created the heavens. He is the God who formed the earth and made it. He established it and did not create it a waste place." See, God did not create the earth formless and void, but formed it to be inhabited. So, first God formed the earth to be inhabited. So what happened then when we read the earth was formless? Because the fall of Satan was before that. God created everything good. Satan fell, corrupted everything. And then again, God, He started to reform the earth. It's very clear. In Genesis 2, we see God formed man from the dust of the ground, and then Eve, the Lord fashioned into a woman the rib which He had taken from the man and brought it to the man. We're going to talk about the free will a little bit. God created man with the free will. How we know? Because without a free will, it's impossible to fellowship. Can you fellowship with a wall or with a rock? No. So you need, God knew this, and that's why He created man with a free will, so you could willingly choose God and fellowship with Him. And the devil had a free will, and the angels have free will. That's why they chose to disobey God, the third of the angels, and they went with Satan. And God here, He creates man. We see in Proverbs 8:31, "Having my delight in the sons of man," we'll see that there's a fellowship, and that comes only through free will. When God created Adam and Eve, and in Genesis 3, we see verse 1, "Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field." So God created Adam and Eve, and here we see that the serpent is the more crafty, and the devil used the serpent to speak. We saw that he was already in the Garden of Eden. And here we see that he's already there. That's why he's remaking. He's already there. It was dark and formless because he was already cast out there. So what he did, he suggested, did God tell you not to eat from all the trees? Eve said, no, we can eat except from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We should not eat, neither touch it. But then the devil said, no, you will surely not die, for God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Suggestion. You will not die, but you will be like God. No sin. There's no sin yet. Verse 6, Genesis 3, verse 6. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, see, now it's working. Temptation is working. And that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and ate. That's where sin came into her life too. And she gave her husband, and he ate too. So temptation is not sinning, but once you accept the temptation, then you fall into sin. And that's when they sinned. And the aim was to separate what God had created to fellowship with, to separate them from God. He wanted to be, as we read, he wanted to be over everything. He wants to be the king. He wants to be on top of all. He wants to be equal with God. So that's what he does. He suggests, and the ones who accept the suggestions, they fall. In Galatians 5, we have some of the things that we have all inherited from Adam. Galatians 5:19. Now the deeds of the flesh are evident, which are immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmities, strife, jealousy, outburst of anger, dispute. Dispute is not from God, it's from the devil. We are to examine ourselves. Dissensions, factions, envying, drunkenness, carousing, and things like these. We all, and much more, we inherited from Adam. Just as I have forewarned you, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. But Jesus came to destroy the works of the devil. That's the good news. There's bad news, but we thank God for Jesus Christ, the good news. Everything in him is good news for those who want the truth. 1 John 3, the one who practices sin is of the devil. For the devil has sinned from the beginning. He has sinned. The Son of God appeared for this purpose, to destroy the works of the devil. After Jesus' resurrection, Matthew 28 and verse 18, Jesus said, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. So man was under the authority of the devil until Jesus came, paid the price for sin, died and rose again, and now all authority has been given to Jesus, authority in heaven and on earth, everywhere. So if you want to not be under the power of the devil, there is an exit, and it's through Jesus Christ. You see, the devil in 1 Peter 5, be of sober spirit, be on the alert. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. That's all he wants. His aim is to devour, to destroy, to separate men from God. That's all he wants to do. Even though the suggestion, like we saw the suggestion in Eden to Eve, it was good. The end result of it is death. It's never good. It's never good. In John 10, it says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Today, you are in a situation of choosing. Again, we always choose. Every decision we have to take, it's always a choice between one thing or the other. And here, the devil comes to kill and destroy. Jesus came to give life. Which one would you choose? I have a suggestion. James 4:7. Submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Do you believe that? Do you believe it? It's unbelievable. If you know the power that the devil has, you would say it's impossible to conquer him. Impossible. It is impossible. We needed Jesus to come. And only now, if we submit to God first and we resist the devil, he will flee. That's great news. He cannot have a hold of us anymore if we really want to. That's the devil and why our world is in this situation, in this evil. We have an exit and we are to choose. What do we want? Death or life through Jesus Christ? Take your decision. God be with you. God bless you.